We have come close to the end of July, and so it's time to close the book on the active part of the season with some off-season grades, early off-season grades. We'll chat about what the Magic were able to do this off-season and more on today's episode of Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is July 28th, 2023. My name is Philip Rossman-Ike. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to grade the Magic's offseason, what the Magic were able to accomplish this offseason, how it sets them up for the regular season, and why maybe it didn't really matter in the end. It mattered, but we'll get into why the Magic didn't need to have a home run offseason this summer. We'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, this great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. This offseason for the Orlando Magic was an important one. Every offseason is important. The opportunity to get better, the opportunity to see the team advance and grow is a big deal. And we shouldn't overlook that. We shouldn't go past that. We shouldn't ignore it, to say the least. The Magic entered this season as one of the few teams with significant cap room. And really the potential to spend it because of what they're building. But we do know that Jeff Weltman and his front office and his staff like to say they're not going to skip steps, that they're going to let things grow naturally, and they're not trying to go after the sugar high of a playoff berth. They want to build something sustainable. They want to build something that will last for a little while. And we'll go over this, I think, next week a little bit. Why the Magic are indeed on the precipice of building a sustained playoff run, of building a team that's going to be in the postseason for a little while, for a little while. And so we look back and we look ahead at a team's that had a mission statement this summer of don't screw it up. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't put things in the way of your developing stars. This was a season where the Magic were more focused, in my opinion, on incubating what they had and trying to make the most of the group that they have. And make sure they're all on the right track. Make sure they're all growing in the right direction and doing the right things and put in the right spots, the right locations to take their next steps. With that in mind, then, despite the opportunity, despite the potential to do something good, despite the ability to spin this thing forward, perhaps even accelerate the timeline with a big free agent signing or with a big trade, the Magic kind of opted, and the Magic's, I guess, mission statement and thought to this whole process was, let's let everything marinate a little bit more. You check the pot, the meat's not done yet. There's still a little too red, still a little too rare to take out of the oven, to serve, to put the garnishes on that you need to get to that championship level. This is sort of what the Magic decided. Whether that's right or wrong, we'll talk about that in a minute, but the Magic essentially decided this summer was another summer, and a fair criticism of Jeff Weltman is he is too hesitant to make major changes sometimes. This was a summer to let this team grow. We look at the things that really matter about this team. Let's throw out everything else. Maximizing of assets, so on and so forth. What is the most important thing for this team to reach a championship level? To get from where they are as nice, young, developing team to a team that is going to compete for a playoff spot, eventually compete for a championship. And to be honest, that is, how do we set up Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner for success? How do we make sure that we, as a franchise, as an organization, maximize these two players, help them grow and develop into the best players they can be, and give them the tools to not only grow individually and take advantage of all their skills, but put them in a position where they can win and compete at the highest levels? That's, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. If the Magic made Paolo Banchero's life easier, and yeah, he posted video of him working out with Kevin Durant. He worked out with Jason Tatum over the weekend. Paolo Banchero is getting around. He's getting around. He is getting his work in. He's going to the World Cup. So is Franz. We're going to have a very good idea by the end of this World Cup just where these two players are at and just what kind of season we might be in store for. But at the end of the day, what the Magic had to do is find ways to maximize their skills and make their lives easier. And for now, that starts with keeping that runway clear for them. Making sure they have the ability to continue growing. Yes, perhaps still make some mistakes. They are in their third year and second year, respectively, with Franz and Paolo. They need the runway to make mistakes. They need the runway to have ownership of this team. And the Magic did nothing to stand in that way. They focused on stability. They didn't re-up Markelle Fultz. They picked up they guaranteed the contract for Markelle Fultz. No brainer there. They guaranteed the contract for Goga Bitadze. They picked up the team option for Goga Bitadze. Definitely a debate, but a center who defends well, can come off the bench, can maybe spot start. We'll get to the center question in a little bit, but they took care of their business. They guaranteed Gary Harris's contract. They kept a team stable. Paolo and Franz know exactly where everyone's going to be. They don't have to learn a lot of new teammates. Stability, both from the coaching staff and with the roster, especially with the success the team had last year, going 29-28 over the final 57 games. That is something that will help them grow. And say what you want about stability. Last year's season was a success for this Magic team. Stability is going to help, especially considering how young this group is and the internal development that they believe is going to come. At the end of the day, this team is still so young that the Magic's biggest growth opportunities, the Magic's best chance to get better, is going to come from their players getting better. It isn't going to necessarily come from going after a Fred VanVleet and spending $40 million, even if it's over 2 years, $80 million over 2 years. I don't think the Magic couldn't get to that number anyway, but that might make them more competitive. That might create better short-term results, and maybe that is important. But that may not necessarily accomplish the goal that the Magic have. So at the end of the day, again, what's important is Paolo and Franz. Everything else is figuring out what works around Paolo and Franz. Everything is figuring out if Paolo and Franz can even work together. And certainly there are hints and clues that is the case. And so from that perspective, was this offseason a success? That's the perspective that matters. That's the question that matters. And the answer to that question is, I don't know. And that might get to the heart of the problem of some of the decisions the Orlando Magic made. We're going to take them in turn. We'll go through the draft as well as free agency as we try to figure out whether what the Magic actually accomplished this offseason. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right, just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you could spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. I want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Just as a show note, we are entering August. August is officially our off season, so we're going to be reducing down to at least 3 episodes per week for the next couple months, for the next 2 months, as we await the beginning of the NBA season. That doesn't mean we're going away. I just want to make that perfectly clear. Still going to be putting out shows. I do have a vacation planned in early August in a couple weeks. I'm still planning to have shows ready for while I'm out of town. So you'll get at least 3 episodes per week, perhaps more, depending on games, but depending on news, depending on topics that I have. But we are hitting our off-season mode. We are hitting the snooze button a little bit here. So I want to make sure I get this this off-season grades in before we kind of hit the quiet part of the off-season. I do have some fun ideas planned to help get us through the dog days here. And obviously got World Cup stuff with August 7th, actually 1 week from Monday, being the first U.S. national team game. So we'll get a good look at Paolo Banchero. I actually think Goga Batadze and Georgia play on Friday, which is really, really early, but should be a good time nonetheless. Got a lot still to go, so we want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, part of your off season. But we are going to hit off season mode here in the starting next week. So just bear with us as we count the days. I think we're 70 days away from the start of Orlando Magic training camp. Less than 70 days now, so it's gonna come very, very quickly. But let's start our off-season grades and our off-season analysis on what the Magic needed to accomplish on draft night. I would say this. I am a big believer that you take the best player available in the draft. And you figure the rest out later. Jeff Weltman is very big on saying the Magic need to make sure there is a path for their young players to play, a path for them to succeed. And I think that is also very important. You don't invest a first-round pick. You don't invest when you have 2 lottery picks like the Magic had. You don't invest those pick in those players if you don't have the intention or the ability to allow them to play. In this case, it may not be necessarily them playing a ton their rookie year. I think they'll both play plenty, but looking at the Magic's roster, I can't argue necessarily with the talent that the Magic took. I can't necessarily argue with the reasoning for why the Magic took who they took. We'll take both Anthony Black and Jet Howard in turn here, but I do have questions. I'll say this. I said this a million times in the run-up to the draft. My goal on draft night was to get a shooter. It didn't matter how they got that shooter. I wanted to leave draft night with a shooter, and the Magic did that with Jet Howard. And we saw during Summer League that Jet Howard can be a very capable shooter. Look, it takes rookies a while to get used to the NBA, used to everything that they're going to see at the NBA level. But Jet Howard looks like he can shoot the ball. Magic haven't had a guy that's just a pure shooter like him. Terrence Ross for sure, but they need shooters. They need guys who can space the floor. And, everyone wants to criticize the Jet Howard pick, and it took everybody by surprise, at least if they watch the mock drafts and all the publicly available draft analysts. But at the end of the day, the Magic wanted a shooter who I think could be a little bit more versatile, could work a little bit on the ball, could have some athleticism. I don't think they just wanted a straight catch and shoot shooter, which is maybe why they passed on Grady Dick. Jordan Hawkins was on the smaller side at 6'6". They got a 6'8" guy that they think can play up and down some positions. And so, I know I said this on draft night, the Magic stuck to their principles. They stuck to the things that they believe in. They stuck to the things that have kind of guided them through the draft: positional versatility, skill versatility. They stuck to that, and those are the picks that they made. Are they the perfect picks? Did the Magic maximize their job on draft night? I think I said I gave them a B or a B minus on draft night. I'm very comfortable saying that the Magic got a B on draft night. I think I know I've taken some heat for this. I think Jet Howard will have a better rookie year than Anthony Black just because of the fit with the roster. And while I like Anthony Black as a talent play, I love his feel for the game. I love the pace that he plays at. He does not look bothered by anything. I love his defensive tenacity. I love that he's big. I think that is a big deal for this Magic team. His shooting is going to be a big thing for him to overcome. And especially considering the Magic have a couple lead guards that struggle to shoot in Markelle Fultz and Jalen Suggs, and look, both have gotten a lot better, so it's not like he can't get better as a shooter. It makes me really question where he fits in. Now, the Magic, to some extent, use this draft to cover themselves maybe for what they expect to be some losses coming down the road. Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony are both free agents at the start of next season. We talked about them earlier in the week. Jalen Suggs has had his ups and downs through 2 years, and the Magic may not re-sign him when he becomes a free agent. He may become a bit of trade bait down the line. Anthony Black is insurance for that. And yeah, it might take him a while. He may not get all the minutes you want in his rookie year, but he is still a really, really good player. Now, this is where I think the problem is. And this is where I think the problem with the draft is, do the Magic have a clear path for these guys to play? Anthony Black is going to be behind Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony at point guard. He's going to be behind Jalen Suggs and Gary Harris at the 2. And so at the 3, which is not his natural position, and maybe not where you ultimately want him playing, although I think he can defend up to the 3 plenty well, and maybe that's really what matters. At the 3, he's going to be fighting with Franz Wagner, with free agent signee Joe Ingles, who we'll get to here in a minute, with Jet Howard. Gary Harris might get some minutes there too if the Magic go with smaller lineups. We can all see the clutter. And look, clutter is not a bad thing. I wrote this on Orlando Magic Daily earlier on Thursday, late on Thursday. Depth is going to be a bonus for this Magic team. They're deep. They've got guys I think they feel very comfortable playing, talented players. They're probably deeper than just about any team that they're competing with for an Eastern Conference playoff spot. They're going to be able to withstand the injuries. And in this sense, I like the Anthony Black pick because, besides the player is really good. I really like Anthony Black. I'm not sitting here saying I don't like Anthony Black. Please don't take it at that. My question is there just a clearer path for a rookie to make an impact? Is this a team that could draft purely on talent alone? Was there maybe an opportunity to trade back a few spots? Not that the Magic should have taken Bilal Coulibaly or taken Jarris Walker, or even Taylor Hendricks, who might have been cleaner fits within the roster, especially at power forward. We'll get to that in a minute. But the Magic made a talent play, and now, and that's never wrong, so I don't think that's a wrong thing. And now they have to figure out, well, what do we do with all this talent that we have? I'm more optimistic about the Magic doing that with this group because they do seem to have direction. They have a good organizational culture. They have a flexibility about them. Jamal Mosley and Jeff Weltman and the way that they approach the game, they're willing to experiment. They're willing to try out different things. The Magic are going to go big. They're going to play Wendell Carter and Mo Wagner together and play, they might do a lineup of Mo Wagner, Wendell Carter, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Anthony Black. They might do that. They might do lineups like that. Just like they might go small and go Isaac Banchero, Franz Wagner, Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, and just be like, okay, for 2 minutes, you're just not going to score. You're going to really hate life with the kind of speed and athleticism we have on the perimeter and all that. They can do that, and I think the Magic are willing to do that. And so ultimately, when I look at this draft, I don't necessarily see it as a missed opportunity. I don't think there are opportunities missed. I don't think the Magic messed up by not taking a Cam Whitmore or messed up by not trying to trade back. Maybe there's more opportunity there if they took a Taylor Hendricks or a Jarris Walker. I think Anthony Black's going to be able to hold his own fine, or is at least comparable to all those guys. You'll hear me say this. I'm never really upset with the GM's decision because they have more information than we do, unless there's just no rationality behind it. Unless there's just no way for me to rationalize the deal. The Magic made rational picks. They made talent plays. They made kind of philosophy plays. The only question I have is about fit and their path to playing. And that's the big mystery. That's the big thing coming out of this draft class, and why you can't give it an A, but you can't really fail them either. They got talent. They got more talent. They got more depth, and that's going to ultimately help them as they try to make the playoffs next year. It's then what they did in free agency that I question a little bit, but again, a lot of the same issues, a lot of the same thought processes, and a lot of the same things of let's just get a collection of talent together so we can put our 5 best on the floor. We'll go through what the Magic did in free agency and what they left uncovered that I'm worried about coming up in just a moment. Before we dive into the end of the show, I want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub. It's kind of a supplemental content to what we're doing at Orlando Magic Daily, as well as what we're doing here on Locked On Magic. I am posting some videos, some playbook videos, breaking down some plays and things that I'm thinking about and seeing, sharing links that I wouldn't otherwise share elsewhere. Gives you direct access to me as well. I'm planning on some other items, and really, I want to know what you guys want from me. So definitely check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub. Orlando Magic Daily Locked On Magic will always be free, but if you want a little bit of extra, Orlando Magic Hub on Patreon is the place to go. You can find the link to my Patreon page in my bio on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. So the draft is about getting talent. I just want to make that clear. I am a big believer. Take the best player available. Don't overthink the draft. It is guessing. You don't know. If you have a player that you think is your guy, you take him. Who cares what mock drafts think? Who cares what anyone else thinks? The Magic thought Jett Howard was better than Jordan Hawkins. That's enough for me. Does that mean the Magic couldn't have traded back 2-3 spots? Maybe would have been there when Utah picked whatever pick they were at, and done that trade. I don't know. The Magic certainly didn't need more draft picks. They've got plenty. The roster's already full, and so I don't think the Magic were necessarily wrong on that front. The draft to me was solid, not an A draft, but I don't know if there was an A draft out there. They needed talent. They needed to use the draft to get one last bite of talent before they head into the playoffs, and probably not having a lottery pick for a little while longer. So the draft is about talent and just getting more talent in. Free agency needed to be about filling those needs. And I know I sat here a million times over and said the biggest need for me for the Magic this offseason was shoring up their forward depth and adding a legitimate backup center, a high-value backup center. I do wonder if the Magic accomplished either of these things. And if I love the Magic's depth. I think the Magic are a better team today than they were at the end of the season. And at the end of the day, if you believe that, and again, we'll see what the proof shows, but if you believe that, then you had a good offseason. So I'm not going to sit here and fail the Magic's offseason. Kind of like the draft, the Magic did things that I am intrigued by. The Magic did things that I think made the team better. Did they make the team absolutely better? Are they covered for every emergency? Maybe you can't cover for every emergency, but I think the Magic left themselves a little bit vulnerable in some key areas that I think could potentially derail their season. I want to start with the backup center. Look, I like Mo Wagner. He had a great season last year. He's a really good part of this team, really good in the locker room for this team. Everybody on the team loves him. I can understand wanting to keep him. Goga Bitadze, all the stats suggest that he had a major impact on this team, especially defensively. He gives you that kind of rugged center, a different look at that backup center spot. I don't hate keeping him. But at the end of the day, my big concern remains Wendell Carter's never played more than 62 games in any season in his career. You have to plan on him missing 15 to 20 games every year. And that's not a knock on Wendell. That's just reality. Hopefully he plays 82 games this year and it's a moot point. Because I like the tandem of Mo Wagner and Goga Bitadze as the backup center. I don't like them as potential starters for nearly a quarter of the season. That's the part that leaves me uneasy. And not that there were a ton of great center options available, but, I think Washington might have taken Anthony Black, and maybe that's why this didn't happen. But you couldn't tell me you couldn't trade 6, maybe a high value second to trade down to 8 and get Daniel Gafford. Do something to shore up that center spot just a little bit, even if it costs you a little bit of money. They paid $8 million a year. Contract they could easily get out of. Look, the Magic do really, really well with their contracts. The Joe Ingles contract, everyone's kind of laughing at the number, 2 years, $22 million. They can get out of that contract after 1 year. I'm not losing sleep over that. They had to spend some money. They probably had to overpay to get guys in. That's fine. Mo Wagner was very much like, hey, you've been good for us. We're taking care of you. Do not worry. Everything is funny money for us right now anyway. And it's true. And so, the Magic did fine with the contracts. They always do fine with the contracts. The real test is Markelle and Cole whenever they hit free agency or whenever those contracts get negotiated. So I'm just still very concerned that Mo Wagner and Goga Bitadze just aren't enough for what the Magic are trying to do and what the Magic are going to need at center. And I do have concern that, okay, when Wendell Carter has to miss a few games, can the Magic stay competitive? Can the Magic stay in the postseason hunt? Prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. The Joe Ingles signing, look, I love Joe Ingles as a player. That dude is going to raise the level of everyone's game. He's going to be adored in that locker room. That dude is a gamer in so many ways. Great passer, great shooter. So the Magic get the shooter that they need. I'm a little worried about the power forward depth. They got Paolo Banchero, they got Franz Wagner, who could both play the 4, but they played nearly 2/3 of their minutes together, which is a good thing. You want them playing a lot together. I think that is intentional. So that to me tells me you're relying on Jonathan Isaac to be healthy. And look, I'd love for Jonathan Isaac to play 82 games this year. He's played 11 games in the last 3 years. Betting on Jonathan Isaac to be healthy, I think, is a mistake. And so, to me, it's not that I dislike Joe Ingles and not that I dislike Joe Ingles' fit with this team. I think he could play a little bit of power forward, play a little bit at the 4, and I think the Magic might be willing to go with smaller lineups, have Bitadze as a screener with Ingles, maybe Franz Wagner, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs. They can spread the floor a little bit with that kind of a lineup. Or, even Mo Wagner. Mo Wagner can step out to 3. So Jalen Suggs is technically the only non-shooter on the floor. You could play Jet Howard at the 2. The Magic have options. And look, those options I think are what separates the Magic from their competition. They're going, as long as they hit on the right group and the chemistry develops, they'll be fine. But I do have concerns that, okay, if Isaac is hurt for any extended period of time, Chuma Okeke is your next option at power forward. Going big with Mo Wagner is your next option at power forward. Going small with Joe Ingles is your next option at power forward now. So to me, the signing of Joe Ingles is a good one. There's a lot to like, but like everything else, it makes sense. It fills some need that the Magic might have. It's good introduction and addition of talent, but is it the best addition of talent? Is that the best thing? Is that the most optimal thing that this Magic team needs? And so overall, I have to give the Magic's offseason a B. Like, I like the things that they did individually, but coming together and looking at this team as a whole, I'm not sure the Magic had the best offseason. Then again, like I said earlier, perhaps the biggest growth, the biggest development that this Magic team is going to make is going to happen with internal growth, with Jalen Suggs becoming a better three-point shooter, with Paolo Banchero becoming more efficient, with Franz Wagner getting better, Wendell Carter getting better, Markelle Fultz getting better and healthy. The biggest growth that this team might make, the biggest addition this team might make, is just getting better internally, and that might make everything make sense. We have to go back then to that initial point. Was this Magic offseason a success? Well, the only way this Magic offseason is a success is if it makes Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner's life easier, if it makes their roles clearer. And look, at the end of the day, the three guys that the Magic added this offseason, Anthony Black is a high IQ passer and playmaker. That's going to make Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner's life easier. Joe Ingles is a pinpoint passer on cutters, as well as an excellent three-point shooter. He's going to space the floor, give the Magic a pull-up threat in transition that they haven't had. He makes the team better. And Jett Howard is a great shooter who's going to make this team better and give Paolo and Franz the space that they need to operate. On that front, then, it is hard to argue that the Magic did not have a good offseason. Was it the best offseason and just how well it will work? That's what the next 9 months are for. As we wait to see, as we get ready for the season to begin and go through the process of this 2023-24 season. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of the places to podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow us on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. We want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, next week we are moving to our off-season schedule. I'm going to try and make it regular, that it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday for podcasts. If things pop up during the week, we will go daily again, or we'll do more episodes, but you'll get a guarantee of 3 episodes a week, at least for the next 2 months. Again, as things happen, we'll have, we'll have Team USA basketball, we'll have World Cup basketball. Things will happen. The schedule will get released. We will jump on for those. So be subscribed to the podcast. Be subscribed wherever you download podcasts to get the latest episodes of Locked On Magic. I'll try and preview what we're going to talk about on our next episode, regardless of anything else. So speaking of that, for my everyday crew, we will have a look at the Magic's depth. I think that is a really good point, and so I want to dig that out a little bit more. Some surprising numbers about the Magic's depth. We'll talk about that on our next episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.